What's happening, guys? This is going to be part 2 of the plant grow lights. I'm not going to probably waste your time with all the intros and stuff. Like I said, just practice electrical safety. If you want more in depth about that, go see part 1. Here you go, Lilo. Oh, sorry. So for this, we're going to go ahead and jump more into lumens. This is going to be more in depth because plants, this stuff kind of matters. Now this is going to be just a standard LED. I would not use something like this for growing, but it's a good example to kind of show you in terms of lumens and stuff what you'll be looking at. Now it also shows on here. Let's see if we can get a good picture of this. You're looking at an LED, CFL, and halogen bulb. Now, these are going to be all standard for growing, not just for house use. I actually did a test. I have grown plants off of CFL. That's how I started, because most people don't really want CFLs. There was a lady, she was getting rid of all of the CFLs in her house. I was changing them to LEDs for her, and she let me take the CFLs home. There was nothing wrong with them. They were not energy efficient for her. So I was able to have different spectrums available to start my seedlings and stuff. And like I said, I have all the systems here, so we will be showing you all that today. The timers, I'm just going to run through those real quick. Always use your timers. Like I said, 12-12 is flowering, 14 hours to 16 hours, and up for your daylight is going to trigger vegetation. Anything less than 14 is going to be guaranteeing flowering, and honestly, 14, you're kind of pushing it. At least hit 16 if you're going to be vegetating. And again, if you're going to be doing an indoor somewhere with humidity, make sure you use the outdoor. So starting off, if you are just looking to make kind of like a seedling starter, you're not looking for anything crazy, you can use something like this. Now this is a cheap Walmart LED. Seedlings do not need much. They mostly just need to know where to grow and sustain life for up to 2 weeks. They don't need any nutrients before that. This is a good option if you don't have a whole lot of cash to get started. So about $5-10, you can get something like this. This is basically an outlet converter. Some people use it construction. Some people use it they need extra light in certain areas. You can just plug it into a wall, something like this. And again, you don't even have to use this. You can use the CFL, and I'll show you all the different ones here in just a little bit. For something like this, we're gonna go ahead and disconnect this bad boy. For something like this, you just plug it straight in. So we get it in there. Boom. Look at that. Oop. Get it in there. See? So as you can see from right here, it's going to be a very broad, it's just going to throw it out there. Something like this would definitely benefit from possibly adding in some sort of shade technique. What a shade does, and we'll see if we can get this for you. And to be honest, if you're growing, I wouldn't really use a shade unless it's like outdoors. If you're inside, you need to use a reflective material that's not going to get too hot. You can use things like emergency blankets. Just be very careful. They're $1 if you're just getting started. Been there, done that. That's why people use grow tents. Mylar is very, very good for reflecting light down. But anywho, what a shade does, and you can see here, it's just going to help, kind of centralize the light to go more down, less up. So that's a pretty good one. Some people can use something like this. Build them maybe cut this out and hang it, kind of just set the light in there and have some mylar sitting on the inside. So I've seen people use foil. Foil is not going to be as good. Honestly, from my experience and from the research that's been done, believe it or not, the color white has the best reflective ability. So if you get some white with maybe like a semi-gloss, something that's built to reflect light, you would probably be doing a little better in the long run. A lot of grow rooms and hydroponic rooms, professional industries use the standard white just because it's easier to clean. Mylar is not as easy to clean. It has the tendency of ripping and kind of dimming over time. Whilst paint, you could just add another layer. It's not too big of a deal. Wipe it down, stuff like that. So this is a standard light. It's going to be nothing special, LED. It's not going to be a cob. It's just standard. It throws red and blue pretty much evenly. It's not really fancy. I would not use it in the long run. You can if you need to. I do use it sometimes in some areas where I just want a little extra light. Doesn't matter what kind. But I'll be running, you know, a heavier light if I'm doing something like that. Now, another good option, maybe you don't have these. Maybe you already have something like this. So for us, we have all kinds of different versions like these. So whenever I'm not running the heat lamps for the chicks, I can actually run lights. Really, it's just a device, and it already has that cone that I was telling you about, some reflective cone. So when you plug something like this in, this is going to be a CFL. Let's see if we can get it for you guys. 1 second. This is going to be a CFL, and it takes a little bit to heat up initially. So like the whole thing, as you can see, the whole thing, and see how it's central like that. It's good. So I can actually control, you see? So if I'm holding it here, that LED I showed you, which can again also fit in here, it's not coming down here. It's actually shading it down in this direction, and it has holes for ventilation so it doesn't get too hot, because this device does get very hot up here. These are normally used for heat lamps. I think this one actually, someone had left it. He had a reptile at one point, and after the reptile passed away and some other stuff happened, there was a lamp that wasn't being used, so we actually use it for CFLs currently. I had this on the worm bin at one point. So CFLs, as you can see, this is more of a blue spectrum. It's got more of a blue tint to it. Something like this is going to be fabulous for vegetation, vegetative stage. And I do apologize ahead of time, like guys, this is going to be lengthy. So in terms of spectrum, we're going to grab our trusty old box, get this disconnected for you. And these are cheap lights. We are going to be doing a heavy duty light, so if you don't want to deal with all this, you could just skip ahead. This is just going to be for, beginners, someone that kind of wants to get into the hobby but doesn't want to do a heavy investment on a large light. All right, so for this, you're going to notice it says daylight and non-dimmable. This is important because daylight is a certain spectrum, give or take. So brightness is 750 lumens. Now it takes, if I'm remembering correctly, I believe it takes almost 800 or 8,000. It's an 8, but it's either 800 or 8,000 lumens to successfully grow a plant. And I really think it's 8,000. But anywho, this just shows that that's how much light is physically being let off. It doesn't tell the spectrum. Daylight generally is going to be a high blue, and I don't have. Let's see. I do not have a lumens. Oh wait, maybe we do. Yes, we do. So on this, what we're going to be looking at, it says brightness right here is 750 lumens. Like the light appearance. Now this is the physical spectrum. This is going to be on a sliding scale. Some are actually like kind of like a graph, or what do you call those statistic line charts? Anywho, it's going to tell you the actual watts used. That's important to calculate your wattage and your conversion, what your plant's actually getting and what you're having to pay for in terms of watts. And then of course the warm to cool, and this is going to be a 5,000 K light. That 5 to 6,000 on a daylight is just perfect if you're in the vegetative stage. Now a 3,500 K, something on the softer side. I think that's the softer side, right? Yep. No, the warmer side. Sorry, the warmer side, not the cool side, is going to be better for flowering. Now, if you were to get a bulb that was 9 watts, it would have less lumens because generally flowering lights are a little bit weaker. So the conversion there, yes, you can technically use flowering lights to vegetate, but you're not going to get the proper conversion for that plant to be able to do the most. It can with the wattage you're using. So that's gonna, if you're trying to figure out what light is gonna work for you, you really need to sit down and think about what are you going to use out of that bin, that location, that section. Another good example, and this is actually what I use for my cloners. Like my whole indoor vegetation bin only runs on this one light. That is it. This is just a standard light clip that I have here, and this has a reflector, around it, and it's going to be an LED bar. Yeah, it's not a cob, it's just an LED. It's nothing fancy, and this just throws red and blue. So this is going to be the next step up. As you can see, it's fairly bright. It works pretty well, and I could just hang it, and all my plants can sit under here in terms of their growth. And then whenever they get to be too big, I'll either put them in our sun bubble when it's winter, or our just outdoor area to start hardening them off to go outdoors. And because it's so hot, because it's so hot here, you do have to harden off your plants if you want them to survive. And I like this one because I can put it on a timer. I can manually turn it on and off. I don't know. It's just it's a nice little starter if you just wanted to start trying to grow something small, or maybe just add a little bit of light in an area that you're not going to be looking at. Now, in terms of light safety, always wear light glasses if you're going to establish an actual grow room. This is just off in the corner of our house somewhere. And to be honest, I'm eventually thinking about getting a miniature tent, just because I'm not going to have any large plants or anything going. And just for our own safety and our own eyes. I have built them before, but I would like something a little more professional, easier to keep up with. I don't have to regulate temperature and stuff so much. And if that's all, that little two footer I got at Walmart for $20. So in terms of an investment, it's pretty good. I actually overwintered our snapdragon flower, the one I keep mentioning, and it loved that light. It actually grew into the light. I had to chop it in half about 3 or 4 times throughout the the grow. All right, I have hop down there, Lilo. There you go. So our next light we're going to be showing you is going to be the step up from those little pesky Walmart lights. Ooh, see if we can get it over here. Sorry about this. There we go. Now this is a heavy duty light. This is an experienced grower's light. You would have already had a regulatory system for your electrical stuff. You would have already had all new equipment to make sure it's not going to, cause any fires or anything. This is a 150 watt, 270 degree lens, optic XL, flowering with dimmability. This is insane. I love this thing. Like, it is the best light I've ever had. I have had an optic 2 LED. Now these optics that I'm using are going to be chip on board cobs, and they're just insane. Like, I have never had plants react the way they react to these lights. The optic 2 was nice, but it was really just too big. I'm not growing anything. I'm not growing anything too crazy. I'm not trying to have like a full-on system. I'm just trying to temper my plants until they're ready to go outdoors. This would be something if I had an emergency genetic situation. Like I was running some trials on a dual root zone, and I was starting off an aquaponics water system. So I really needed a healthy system, and 75 degrees is actually like the best temperature in terms of best bacterial growth and stuff. So I did have some water heaters. I did it during winter. I did a little closet setup, just temporary until I could jumpstart that system. And then as soon as I did, that's actually what jump-started the system for the barrels outside that y'all saw in the sun bubble, and that I do still have and use to this day. In fact, that's what our crawfish are in. And to be honest, it was too strong. I had duckweed in one of the barrels, and I just could not keep up with it. So this is actually going to have you hang it up, kind of like this. Keep your wires out of the way. And what you see here is actually a heat sink. So a heat sink keeps this light nice and cool, because this cob is overpowered. And this is not promotional, like, they do not sponsor me, but if y'all ever have a chance to get something, check out optic LED grow lights. I mean, this is a baby compared to some of the stuff they have. They even have stuff to where you can build your own light. Like, it's just OP. You probably won't ever need another light unless you're getting a larger system somewhere. So we're gonna go ahead and plug this in. So this has a 270 lens. The size down is actually on the XL. You have an option for a 180 lens. What this does is it has a wider base on it, so you can get a larger area in terms of coverage. This is going to be a flowering light, but I just wanted something that was well-rounded. The Optic XL was that I had, or sorry, the Optic 2 that I had was also a flowering. I had borrowed it from someone just to see, you know, what I wanted, what my needs were. I must have spent maybe $100, $150 on this. I think I got it because they do run sales on their website. I mean, that is just insane. I can feel the heat. Like, it's already starting to heat up. And like I said, what's cool about it is not all plants are equal. I can turn this down to 50 watts. Put it a little closer. I mean, look at that. Look at that. Is just, it's amazing. I love it. And as you can see, like where the lens is, you can see where hi Lilo. She's persistent. Now, something like this would do better if you're trying to overwinter a tree indoors. I would not put something like this in a greenhouse. With a greenhouse, I would probably try and stick with some sort of waterproof LED or like bar, like the T500s or something. Those do pretty well. Generally, like I said, I would be very careful because there is a humidity, and generally where you put the lights, you need to have the proper exhaust and stuff. So this light here is going to be in that 3,000 range. I wouldn't get the best conversion for a vegetative bin, but as I said, this is mostly just to save genetics. I have a large ability that I can achieve with this. It's not going to hurt my plants as much. And if there's not enough, I can always turn this down and change the lumens by adding a CFL or one of these red and white bulbs, something like this that I showed you guys. The creativity is definitely going to be up to you. Always check your lumens, your wattage, and again, you need to be checking all that anyways, just to kind of see what kind of splitters you can use, what kind of timers you can use. This is the one I use on my my veg bin here. Like I said, it's just little bitty. It just runs that little 2-footer. I think it's like a 20 watt. It's nothing special, nothing fancy. That timer is just OP for that light. I actually use that timer on something like this Optic here. So that the other outlet there, like I said, I would check my wattage, and then you know, may or may not add something if I have it on a veg bin. But it does its job. And the penetration on these things, see the Optic, they have a leaf penetration of I think about 2 inches, 3 inches, which is fairly strong. What that means is that if you had a really dense canopy on whatever plant you're growing, and say 2 to 3 inches down of just a flat canopy with almost no airflow, which don't do because you need proper airflow, otherwise you're going to get mold, mildews, and diseases and stuff, possibly pests. But even if you were, you would still have a 2 to 3 inch you know, depth that light would penetrate through. So what that means is that if your plant is properly taken care of, the entirety of that plant is going to be receiving enough light to grow. I mean, you can get some dense plants with this kind of stuff. I had, like I said, I had a tomato, and I mean, dude, there were tomatoes in places like they were just huge. They were huge. We weren't gonna eat them because they were kind of a, you know, like a starter. So I did use some dechlorinator in that, but it just showed me what is capable when you know you have a light like this. Honestly, I just put it up once every now and again to kind of look at it now. I don't have as much of a need since I have the sun bubble, but before, you know, pre-sun bubble, I had to use stuff like this so I could overwinter plants just because, you know, the trash cans and saran wrap that I have tried weren't cutting it. Yeah, so don't forget, like, subscribe, leave a comment if you have any other questions, concerns, or maybe you're still new and you need a little bit more help. I'm more than willing to help out and work with you guys. Peace. Have a great day. and be nice out there.